Hi, and welcome to the Skincarma Pod. I'm Carmine, the creator and voice of the Skincarma blog. With more than 25 years in beauty as a brand builder, copywriter, and skincare junkie, I'm putting my product wisdom and expertise to work demystifying skincare. On today's episode of the Skincarma Pod, I'm joined by Bob Gehring, better known as Beauty Bob, a men's health writer and authoritative voice in the men's space. There's a strange contradiction when it comes to men and skincare. Men will track their macros, they'll optimize their workouts, they'll debate supplements, biohacks, and even longevity protocols. But ask them about moisturizer, and especially a moisturizer with SPF, and they suddenly get quiet. Look, I'm not a proponent of men's skincare per se. Skin is skin. Sure, men's skin tends to be oilier earlier in life, but all human skin needs the same things to sustain itself: moisture, hydration, antioxidant defense, and yes, sun protection. For men, skincare has lived in this awkward space where it's either treated like vanity or like something he's supposed to figure out in private, preferably without talking about it aloud. And that's exactly why today's conversation matters. It's about stripping away the noise and the stigma and speaking honestly about what actually works, what doesn't, and why so many men feel overwhelmed before they even start. Bob is using his platform to help normalize these conversations in a way that feels grounded, practical, and refreshingly unperformative. So let's jump into it. Let's talk to Bob. Hi, Bob, unperformative that you are.
I feel like I have to do something now. No. Yes, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I'm glad to be
Yeah,
here.
I'm excited. I'm excited to have you on. This will be really fun. So where did we meet? We met at the Boys in Beauty event,
Yes,
like kickoff event, right?
yes. I was probably sweating through my shirt because it was very warm in there.
And as I recall, it was very bright.
Yeah, very bright. Yes, at the Maison, and I felt like I was like, man, there's so many people. I was super excited just to get to meet a lot of other folks that are in the business that are just as passionate as I am about it, and see who was there, learn from them. And I felt like
Yeah,
Ian put together a really good group of people for the
he
like
did. It was all he really did. It was a cool mix of people. Ian's good about that, bringing people together.
yeah.
Such a good soul. I love Ian. Yeah, so kudos to him. Boys in Beauty. You know what? I'll just kick it off by saying I'll drop a link to Boys in Beauty into the show notes. But in the interim, before we get to the show notes, let's do the show. So, to start, I'd like you to share who you are, where you grew up, all of the good stuff.
Yeah. Uh, my real name's Bob Gearing. I'm
Hmm.
also known as Beauty Bob. Been here, live in Brooklyn, been in New York about 20 years, but I grew up in Detroit, and I think it's kind of, I would say, unique, I guess, for me to be as interested in some of the, what I'll call the grooming or just self care, kind of categories, if you will. But yeah, I've lived in New York. I do software sales by day and try to drive SPF usage when I'm not doing my day job, I guess. Right. So always
Right.
trying to help my guys figure out what they should be using or not. Right. For that matter.
Yeah. So you do that by day, and then you kind of do writing. Your writing gig is a side hustle.
It is. Yeah. And right now I'm lucky to have a column that's essentially a monthly column in Men's Health.
Hmm.
And I am having such a good time with that, covering a lot of topics that I'm passionate about. And I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to be writing about this upcoming year. I've just turned in some of my ideas. So I'm hoping that some of those get greenlit and I'll be able to talk more about those soon.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. And before we get into all of the nitty gritty of men and products and men's skincare routines, take us back. I want to know how skincare even entered your world as a guy who wasn't trying to become Beauty Bob. And where
Yeah.
did that come from?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'll start with my younger years and where my
Hmm.
like passion came from, and then I can touch a little bit on the Beauty Bob piece because it's one of my favorite stories. But yeah, I would say early 90s, I was the teenager with horrible acne, like just really, really bad. I feel like my face looks pretty good now for how bad it was then. I was like, this is never going to be okay. But I also was like a pretty big sports guy back in the day, played baseball, played everything you could think of. And I felt like early, late 90s, that wasn't something that, men were talking about. Nobody was supposed to care about how we looked back then. I feel like it was just kind of this overarching component that I felt like was always didn't really resonate with me because I actually did care and I was not feeling good about how bad my face looked at that point.
Mm,
So I remember going through Accutane, a full cycle of that, which honestly just popped everything, right? And like almost made it worse to before it could get better. But I think that was really where my skin got super, super bad and was so dry, and was really where I kind of started to learn about how important moisturizing was for me, and really started to embrace what I was doing from a product perspective, and just started using things because I think it had gotten that bad. And for me to be able to try to at least calm my skin down and get something a little bit less wild looking,
mm,
that was really important to me. Right. So I think that was kind of where I've started my journey. I would say 20s were a little hectic here and there, a lot using different things, but late 20s, early 30s is where I really started to hone in. Dated somebody who was a Birchbox subscriber, which I think seems kind of funny to think about now because I was always stealing her products and just testing things and be like, oh, I do like this and that. And it's kind of around the time that the men's line actually launched, when they had Birchbox for men,
mm.
which also was just so nice for me because I wasn't wasting a ton of money. I feel like it was definitely during the times where I was still coming up in New York and trying to make some more cash as well, so that I could survive here, because it was tough for a while. And I think for me, it was always like small format, testing different things, starting to figure out the pieces that I liked. And I kind of remember at that point going into an ASOP, which was always like the experience that I had in being in sales. I love a good salesperson, and I think when I had an experience in the store in Williamsburg, I walked in and I was like, oh my god, these guys have just let me try things and opened my eyes up to stuff that I hadn't really tested or tried at that point. And just kind of downward spiral from there to the Byredos and you name any other product. And having those kinds of experiences, I was just like, damn, I really like these nice things, and wanted
Yeah.
to do that. So yeah.
I saw on your one of your holiday Instagram reels that you called out Octo as
Hmm.
one of your, one of the products you suggested for the holidays. I worked on that brand. I worked on the branding, the packaging, and I was like, whoa, he's got some refined taste.
I'm wearing it today. I just got a re-up of that as well. So my buddy Adam over there had
Hmm.
got some things kickstarted. So if you know him, like it's one of those brands where initially when I tried it, I feel like it's one of those things where I don't have to use multiple products when I use it. It almost
Yeah.
feels like it's a serum slash moisturizing combo of everything, where I'm like, it's not super heavy. It makes my
Hmm.
skin feel amazing. From a price point perspective, sometimes I'm like, do I want to spend this much every time? Not every time, but when I
Yeah.
want to do something nicer, I love it, and my wife
Yeah.
steals it. So that means it's really good.
It's incredible packaging too, and the branding is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what were you using? You had a skincare routine, I guess, when you were a teenager that was really focused on treating your acne. Was it the same skincare routine that I had, which was Stridex pads?
Pads. I remember like, the different gels. I feel like it was like different and different things that I was
Right. Yes.
using today. And yeah, I mean, honestly, Cetaphil was always my go-to because it was so gentle for me, and it like
Mm,
really didn't inflame my skin further, which was my number one. It looked like my face was on fire at the most, like the worst parts, and almost very pizza-ish vibes, and not a good look. I definitely have pictures, and maybe I'll throw some up as an ode to that back in the day for what I've come from to what I am now. But man, it was tough for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you talked about the Birchbox experience and how your partner at the time introduced you to that. It shaped your approach, maybe not in a in all that serious way, but allowed you to explore and to delve into things and really find things that you probably wouldn't have had access to, which is
Totally.
so interesting. I feel like we're past that whole box subscription box wave.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, it was beneficial to you, and I'm sure you're not alone. When I think about men and how men discover products, I remember back to my days in house at Kiehl's and how so many of the Kiehl's male core customers told us that they were introduced to Kiehl's by their partners, female partners, and that it got to the point where they felt like their partners had to hide their products from them because nothing was safe. And so we know that a lot of men discover skincare and the bulk of the majority of their grooming habits through their partners. And why do you think that dynamic works better than brands talking specifically to men? Men don't seem to have ever trusted brand marketing.
Yeah. I feel like, what's interesting and what really resonates for me, it's funny. My wife now, I consider her one of the more scientific people in the business. She was a beauty editor at Elle magazine for a long time, and
Mm.
I think she thought I was initially trolling her when we started dating because my cabinet was a little bit nicer than she would have expected, I think, at that time. And I legitimately remember her like sending pictures to her girlfriends being like, "Is this real? Like this person has all this." And I feel like it almost could be like could have went viral back then, but it was like, who knows? But anyway, I think, like being able to pick her brain and the way that she understands how products work has really helped me also now evolve even further because I think I know the products that I like and I'm the sweatiest person, like I will always call myself out. I just can't. It doesn't matter what I use. I have to use something light. I don't want something that's really sticky. I want, I have very specific touch things that I'm putting on my hands and how I want it to feel. But I think, learning from her and understanding how those products work. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? Like, I feel like so many brands are fairly monotone to men, right? Where they just think we're all buying the same things. And to me, I honestly feel like there's way more micro groups within, if we would call it self care, skincare, whatever we want to kind of call it. And I think, honestly, like, it's fairly neglected, right? From like the men's perspective in I think finding a good drugstore version of whatever you want to use that is, cost effective and, simple and something where I don't have to know what's in the products, right? It's like I know I need to use these two or three things and at least just get consistency. I think that's the messaging that's being really kind of lost at this point. And honestly, my goal of my platform is just how do I simplify that for the regular guy?
Right, because that's really what you crave, right? This
Yeah.
is the simplicity, which I find fascinating when it comes to men. And I think I talked about this in the intro before you came on. Men love routines. They love tracking their workouts, complex supplement regimens, like shaving rituals, like all of this, but skincare feels like a bridge too far. Every year for the past 30 plus years that I've been in this business, I've heard something along the lines that this is the year the men's market matters, or the men's market explodes, or men finally fall in love with skincare, or men finally start using skincare. And it really does come down to uncomplicating a routine. We've talked about, and I know you've espoused this concept of the 2-minute drill. So to you, what are non-negotiables? You talked about moisture, you know, and why does simplicity make all the difference, truly?
Yeah, the 2-minute drill to me is like such an easy sports touch for the
Mm,
regular,
it is,
dudes.
yeah, that's what it feels
Have
like.
and honestly, everybody knows what it is. It's like the last minute of the game and you're trying to get the win or trying to finish the game or do whatever. And to me, it's like my finish before I go out into the world where it's like I want to wash my face. I want to put on something that gives me some sort of moisture and I want to protect it, right? So it's to me washing it, giving that moisturizer. I personally prefer serum over some sort of a lotion or a cream. I just feel like
Mhm.
it ends up, kind of sinking into my skin a little bit better. But then non-negotiable for me every single day, ultimately, and this is the biggest part of my message is SPF. It's to me the best protection that any man can kind of be doing on a day-to-day basis. The amount of DMs that I get about what's your anti-aging routine or how do I look younger or how am I going to stop, looking or feeling old? It's like dude, start wearing SPF. Like just do that and do anything. Like, if you're gonna do one thing, just put on some SPF every single day. Like,
And do you
it's not.
think they're receptive or they're like rolling their eyes like, really, bro? That is not what I was expecting. Could you answer the question for real?
Yeah, I get both, and I'm
Hmm.
also, kind of, to me, so many of my buddies are like, I only wear it when I go to the beach, or maybe I'll wear it when we're out on the golf course, and it's like, God, you're always exposed, right? And like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I attach a lot of things back to golf, and I've written about it a lot now, and I definitely will be continuing to cover that too. But I think it's one of those things that at the end of a golf tournament, when I'm watching and the guy takes off his hat and he has the absolutely wildest suntan line, or sunburn for the most part line, it's like, do you want that to be how your skin looks? It's insane. So
Right.
to me, the protection, and I don't know. Anti-aging is such a funny word for me because I don't mind aging. I personally like it, and I
Yeah.
want to age. I want to have the, kind of opportunity to do it, because not everybody does either. And I think that's the part, is like, if I'm going to get older and I'm going to take care of myself, right? Like, you kind of also touched on this before. One of my other big things is, so many guys that I talk to will tell me, well, I take my AG1 every day. I have
Hmm.
200 grams of protein every day. But I'm like, when was the last time you wore SPF? And most of them can't,
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's,
That is so fascinating to me. And I don't know if it's that. I honest to God, I do not know how to put my finger on it. Are men turned off by the marketing that's come their way? Because to me, it feels like they just ignore it. Like they just tune it out. It's not even that they're turned off by it. They don't even listen to it. So to them, it doesn't even seem to exist. But like, what is it? Like, I don't get it.
yeah. It's funny when I think about, and I've consulted on a couple brand things, and done some stuff around my opinions, right? Which I love sharing the way that I feel, and the way I kind of come to finding brands, or brands that I like. I'm like, I'll be the first person to champion a brand when I find one I like, and tell all my friends about it, right? I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of men that have subscribed to that as well. What I think is really kind of different is, to me, I find women really want to know why something works, right? But men don't seem to care about that as much. They want to know, like, how does it feel? Does it smell funny? I think that they're not really deep diving into it the way that women do. And I think it's more like, does this sink into my skin really quickly? Does this make me less sweaty? Right? Like, what are the conversations that I'm having with my friends over a beer, or, a lot of the times in my DMs, where I'm like, we can talk about this. It's okay. Like, I like kind of digging into it and understanding what people are using, or why they like things or not.
Yeah.
It's To me, it's less trend driven also for men. It's more, they find something they like and they just order it over and over and over, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
they,
With a shave cream, like with a shave cream. Like every
100.
guy has their favorite shave cream and he doesn't even why would I change it? Yeah. I'm very much like that with restaurants. Like
It's
ask all of my friends that I go out to, dinner, brunch, whatever with. I really just want to go to the Smith in Nolita.
Yeah.
Like I love it there. I love the environment. The service is amazing. The menu is huge. I usually, honestly, even though the menu is huge, I get the same thing.
It's fun.
So I completely get it. Like
Yeah.
I'm a guy like that when it comes to eating out. I'm a guy. When it comes to skincare, my behavior is nothing like that. So what is your current routine?
Yeah. I am super simple, right? In the morning, whether if I'm showering, I'm obviously washing my face in the shower. And if I'm heading out, I'm washing my face in the sink. You know what I mean? And I put on a serum. I like an under eye. I know that might be controversial for some, but I do like an under eye. I know people will say it doesn't do a ton, but it's something that
An
I've kind of,
under eye meaning like something for puffiness?
yeah,
Okay.
I have either a stick, or I've been really into these Papa Tui under eye patches right now. I don't know if you've
Wow.
tried them. Yeah.
I haven't. You need to
They,
hook me up. I need to know
yes,
what that is.
I am obsessed. It's one of the ones that The Rock created, which, right?
I saw it on in that same post. I was
Yes.
like, "That's The Rock." Yes.
I feel like when I put on an under eye patch, they feel like they're slimy and they're sliding everywhere. These things,
Yeah.
literally, I have to peel them
That's
physically.
his brand, right?
Yes. And
Yeah.
they
Okay.
actually, I think their tagline always makes me laugh. It's like 10 minutes to sexy or something like that. And I'm like, it works. I feel like it really
That's
kind of like
cool.
my eyes. But I'll use a an under eye stick. I really like this brand Cardone. They have a little roller balls on it that I like,
Mm,
and then I'm using an SPF and I'm out the door.
that's it
That's
in
my
the
go-to.
morning.
Yep.
Honestly, the first skincare product I use every morning is at 5:30, 5:40, whatever, after I feed the cat. I use the Ordinary's caffeine serum under my eyes. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
doing the same thing as you.
Yep.
The first thing I want to address is puffiness and dark circles.
I love the Ordinary is one of my go-tos for sure. And I feel like they're one of the ones that I'm always quick to share with my friends because I think it's super cost effective. They're usually
Yeah.
pretty limited as far as the number of ingredients, which I always like.
Yeah.
Um, and their stuff works. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's
All
really
right.
easy.
So what about you're not worried so much about puffiness at night and certainly not sunscreen. So what's your PM routine look like at
Yeah.
9 o'clock when you're dying to just go to bed?
Yeah. I wish I went to bed at 9. I probably should.
Well,
But
you have a
I'm
kid. I understand.
usually that's my time to like have a moment and
Mm,
rest myself. So it's always nice. But I wash my face. I am using retinol probably 2 or 3 nights a week, and then I am applying moisturizer every night before I go to bed. I use a little bit of a heavier, maybe more of like a cream version before I go to bed, just because I feel like I want something a little bit more substantial to kind of keep me through the night.
hmm
And that's usually my routine is pretty simple with that at night as well. So just more staying consistent. I wash my face every single day. I think it's one of the easiest things. If I'm going to be lazy or had a few drinks, like I'm still washing my face no matter what before I
Right.
go to bed. Yeah.
Do you find your skin is different now in January in New York than it is in like
I
July in New York? You
yeah,
do
I
something
do.
different?
And that's kind of part of it is the winter. I will definitely lean into some of the heavier creams that I definitely will not be touching during the summer, especially if it's during the day.
Yeah.
But I feel like I spend a lot of time outside. I have a son who's 2. He's super active and he loves to be anywhere but in the apartment. He wants to be at the park. So I feel like I'm taking a lot of wind and taking a lot of sun overall too. So for me, making sure that I'm moisturizing is 100% something that I'm always thinking about for sure.
Yeah. There's a real disconnect, in my opinion, between how products are marketed and how they function in real life. And you've kind of touched on that. And you talked about texture, like what makes a product feel usable and trustworthy to you?
I don't like feeling a film after I've put it on. Like
Okay.
a big part of so I'm wearing the Octo today. I had showered a little earlier before we're shooting this, and to be honest, I don't like feeling greasy. I don't like feeling sticky or any kind of film on my face. I want it to feel like it's actually going in or not necessarily sitting up on my skin, if that makes sense. Because I
hmm
think for me, like I said, even in the winter, it might be 30 degrees out today. I feel like I'm still sweating. It's insane. I don't know how it's possible, but I'm always cooking. So it's always high on my list to make sure that it's a product that's not going to make that inflame. So
So, have you done an article for Men's Health yet about how much you sweat? Have you?
yes, self-proclaimed sweatiest person in New York City, and I did my post-sweat grooming routine. So, like, how do I try to calm down my body? What are the products that I use that actually don't make me more sweaty? And
Mm.
yeah, it was a really fun one to write for sure.
Yeah, I was browsing the articles a couple days ago, and there was one. It was what was it called? Fellas something. Fellas. You got to take care of your skin.
Oh
Something
yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah.
I was cracking up. The names are amazing. And back to the show notes, I'll be dropping links to those articles.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're super fun. They're really, really insightful. And I love the language you used earlier. I have never used sink in on packaging copy. It's always absorb. And I'm like,
Interesting.
oh, cool. I like that word. But then, I really don't get the opportunity to write packaging copy for men's products. I worked on Atwater. That was probably the last time I worked on a men's range. I don't think women want to read the word sink in. But,
Probably not.
who knows? Who knows? And have you ever considered launching your own skincare?
I think about it a lot,
Do
and
you?
yeah, my wife and I talk about it a ton. She's also very entrepreneurial, runs her own business and is freelancing full time now. And I've been like so proud to watch what she's built, on that side. Like, not not knowing how it would go, but I knew how it would go. I think I would always say, and I would never take credit away from her. She's the one doing all the hustling, and but I feel like her and I have had a lot of conversations about what would we launch and where
Mm,
would we spend our time, and I have a lot of ideas of where I would kind of do that, which I hope I can start putting out there into the world at some point here soon. So
I
yeah,
say do it. You have my support.
I love it.
I think we talked about this when we met up in Brooklyn about how I kind of like to think of myself as a de-influencer rather than an influencer. Like I'm more interested in steering people away from unnecessary, even like unuseful products rather than pushing things that they don't need. From your perspective, like what's the biggest red flag men should look out for when they're shopping for skincare? What turns you off?
Yeah, I'm like pretty impatient, I would say,
Okay.
when it comes to products. And I feel like I'm pretty quick to judge, like if something's not really working or fitting for me, like I'm going to go on to the next thing. So I think, you know, I like being able to have a conversation. I like trying things. And I think for me, there's a lot of trends and things that are popping up and little fatties, kind of like things where you're like, oh, is this really going to stick? Or is this something that people are going to be interested in? I'm trying to think if there's one specific. I don't know. One thing that I was going to say that has popped up recently that I have been into is the hypochlorous acid, is and like,
Mm,
trying to use that to actually calm my and soothe some of my skin, or if I have breakouts or things like that. So
that's perfect for you.
I feel like that's one I've been talking about a lot, but I'm thinking
Yeah.
like for things for me, it's like the things that are popping up that aren't really tried and true. I like to stay kind of consistent and more traditional, I would say, when it comes to things like that. But I don't know. I guess it's like the red light neck thing. I'm trying to think of like things that I get targeted with in my Instagram where I'm like, I would never do that. I just don't
Oh
care.
my god, I don't care what anybody says. I have never ever seen clinicals on red light devices.
Right.
And I have gotten so many of them. And if you're a brand listening to this, do not even think of sending me one of those devices. And maybe we're finally past it, but you go to any of those websites of these brands that are pushing these, and there are never any clinical results. And there's a reason for it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that I'm always trying to just look at, like what's simple, what are the things that I can use or I can coach people to use to, just be consistent. Cause to me, honestly, I want people to use things that they will actually use, right? And I'm always kind of preaching, especially with SPF or moisturizer or anything, it's like what feels good to you, use it. And if it's something that you will use day to day or most days, then that's probably the best product for you. I
Yeah.
think it sounds simple, but I think there's a lot of men that are overwhelmed also by the amount of choices out there. And I think that's, I put some stuff in my LinkedIn bio that I have on Instagram, and it's a super small list of just products that I like, right? And like these are things that I use day to day because I think if that helps a few people at least start their journey, that's kind of the goal for me, is really simplifying it, right? It's just I walk into CVS, Whole Food, anywhere, and it's just shelf, right? The wall of shelves where I'm like, what would I choose here? How do I know what
Right.
I need? How many, products do I actually want in my routine? So I don't know. Simplification for me is always kind of the way that I think about that.
Do you ever go into Sephora?
I do.
Do you?
I I actually lost my bag, and I did a post about it when I was on a trip not that long ago, and I went into an Ulta and I had a
Mm,
pretty funny experience where I was like walked in, and again, I think there's not a men's section, right? When I'm like walking into a lot of the stores, and that's fine for me because I'll go dig around. I started talking to one of the women that was working there and asking for her opinion because I also wanted to get some different pieces that I wouldn't normally buy, and it's cool to see what somebody else thinks you'd be into. And as we started talking about it, she was like, "Whoa, you actually have an opinion about some of these products and different things," and
you
it
scared
was
her.
it was pretty cool, and I started telling her about Beauty Bob and, a couple different things that I was into, and she's like, "Oh, wow," followed me, and we started talking. It was pretty funny. So I love just kinda going in and having a human experience like that too, and just hearing what other people think.
Yeah. You're also into discovery. I mean, we know that through your experience with the boxes. I do have to before we move on. I have one last question, and it's about you as a writer. How and why did you get into sunscreen? Like, I've never really talked to a guy who was as passionate about sunscreen as you are.
Interesting. Yeah. I it was something that I feel like we always wore growing up, and we were really adamantly wearing it as kids, and I think it just always kinda
Mm,
was a part of. I don't think I really wore it daily until I played baseball, in college, and I would wear it a ton when I would play because I would just be sitting out at a field all day, and it just became something that was kind of more second nature for me and always was a part because I was always trying to find something that had some sort of a moisturizing capability with SPF so that I could cheat and try to do both.
mhm.
Obviously now I'm using a dedicated version of that for the most part. Yeah, it was one of those things that I always felt like watching how other people looked and wanting to protect my skin. I was just like, I don't know. I don't want to look like leather and I don't want to look like shit if I'm honest,
There it
right?
is. There it
Oh,
is. We
yeah.
found it.
Uh,
Yeah. But even then, anybody can make that connection, right? But it was important to you.
yeah. And it's funny how unimportant it is to so many other people where I'm like,
Yeah.
what is the alternative? Like, there's
Nobody
plenty.
wants to look old and leathery.
No, and I feel like there's always the picture of the truck driver who's, like, half of his
Yes.
body is, like,
Yeah.
fully destroyed and the other half is not, and I'm like,
Yeah.
how does this picture or there's a golfer that I always crack up with, it's like a viral video or picture of his literal head being fully white and everything down here being, like, the darkest shade you've ever seen, and it's like,
Mm,
that is just not good for you, you know? Like, how is that something you wanna even put into the world? I don't know. That's
that's
wild.
that is crazy. Just put the cap back on. As long as he doesn't take his
Yeah,
cap off, at least he looks consistent.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so last question. You're not using your platform to recommend just using your platform to recommend products,
Yeah.
right? You're using it to explore culture, language, and identify with men through the men's health lens. What skincare or grooming topics do you feel haven't been written about enough? And where do you see yourself going, or what are you interested in writing about?
Yeah. So I think I feel like I'm always gonna be sharing, like, what is in my, like, routine, right? Because I just
Mm,
feel like it's always evolving. I love trying new products, and I think sharing how I actually feel about the products, not like you, I get sent a lot of stuff, and it's really, really cool to test that out, but I also feel I'm very choosy and picky about I don't wanna mess up my skin and flare it up, so I'm pretty particular about how I test those products. I think some of the other things that I'm super passionate about is hair loss, right? As you can see, I have some there. I do shave it and choose to shave it, but I think that's one that I'm always gonna be interested to cover. I feel like I've had a million people send me this new UCLA study that, like, is all of a sudden growing hair, and there's this cream that people are seeing really good growth on. That's come to me about a million times in my DMs, and I'm curious to see how that goes. But I think I'm always kind of weaving golf into the mix because I think it's really this uncovered, it's something that's getting really popular, but I think a lot of men are still really. I wrote a story about my routine before the round, during the round, and after the round. And I talked to a couple of really cool dermatologists that they were saying like how many men they see every year coming in and getting stuff cut off their ears because they didn't cover it, or the backs of their heads, and from not wearing any kind of just coverage of sunscreen, right? So like the things that I feel like will continue to affect men are the things that I want to dig in and understand better and just kind of share my own experience with that because I'm getting older. I'm definitely more, kind of focused on taking care of myself and making sure that I'm around for my little guy. So I think it's, you know, those are the things that I'm kind of trying to focus on right now myself personally.
cool. All right, let's do a quick lightning round. I just have a couple questions. You can answer them as succinctly as you like. Something you believed earlier in your career that you no longer believe.
I don't need to be the last person at the party or at the event to
Hmm.
have a successful event or
Hmm.
day.
Okay, I'm with you on that. I'm the king of the Irish goodbye. You're not
Yes.
Irish, are you?
No, but I do have the Irish exit perfected. My friends will
Yes.
all be like, "Where are you left?" Like, I can't say no, so I had to go. I had to go.
Yeah, I'll see you outside, Bob.
Yeah.
The place you go when you need to unwind and clear your head.
Akari, which is a sauna over in Williamsburg. I'm a member of their little, sauna community, and it is so calming. They have two saunas and a couple little outdoor seats and a cold plunge thing, and it's just peaceful. And usually there's only 3 or 4 people there when I'm there. So
That's
it's
cool.
my hideout for sure. We should go.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
I was doing all summer, I was doing sensory deprivation at
Wow.
vessel floats up
Well,
there.
cool. That is cool.
Yeah.
Terrified to be in one of those. I feel like I'm like super claustrophobic. I might have a little heart attack, but
Every time I bring that up, the people I bring it up to say the same thing, and I'll tell you, it's not all that as enclosed as you think. It's not a casket format. It's a big tub with a huge door and probably I want to say 8-foot ceilings.
wow.
So it's pretty cavernous.
Cool.
And when you're in the tub, the handle to the door is like right at your arm. So at any point, like I've gotten to the point where I'm like, it's too hot in here, and I'll just push the door open. And when you push the door open, the light from your dressing room comes in. So
Cool.
yeah, and you
Sure.
also have the option to turn the light on, like kind of mood lighting and starlight instead of being in complete darkness. So it's pretty. You can customize it the way you want to.
To check that out.
Yeah,
Still terrified, but I'll try.
yeah, it's amazing. And I've also up there is Othership. Othership. Yeah, I've been wanting to do that too.
I haven't been. Yeah, I just went to another. It's called Lore Bathing Club, who I really
Mhm,
like.
mhm,
I just went to one of their openings, and they're in the city. They're right by over on like near Lafayette, and
mhm.
place was amazing. It's beautiful. I felt like they had these really cool speakers hanging in the back area that were just I don't know. It was a really fun experience, and the team that's running it over there was also really cool. I like them a lot.
That's awesome. That's super cool. One grooming habit you picked up late in life that you wish you'd started sooner.
Hmm. Um, I would say I wish I would have started shaving my head sooner, man. It feels
Mm,
amazing. I love not having to think about what I'm gonna do. I feel like my friends all make fun of me because they're like, "Oh, you're bald and whatever," and I'm like, "I still could grow my hair out, but I think it looks good. It feels good, and honestly, man, I don't have to. I do it once or twice a week. I shave it, and it looks and just feels, I don't know, kind of mean and feels like a little bit, just nice. I like it
I'm
a lot.
feeling you on that today. I shaved mine last night.
It's the
After
best.
going, like, I don't do it every week.
Okay.
I usually because I go all the way down with the trimmer down to
Yep.
0.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's tantamount to shaving it with a razor. And then I'll usually go 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever.
Nice.
And I had been meaning to do it over the weekend, of course, like everything. We're like, I'll do it over the holidays. And I didn't get around to it. And then I was kicking myself. I guess on Sunday I had a migraine, and the last thing I want is a shaver on my scalp. And then yesterday I was fully migraine free, and it was like 6, 7 o'clock, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna do
Gonna
it.
do it. Yep. I
Yes.
love it.
And I'm so happy. I mean, I can't take, like, you could
Yeah.
say, but I
Oh, yeah.
can't take this whole contraption off to expose my own shaven head. But yeah. All right, next. The most overrated skincare step.
Ooh. Uh, I would say if I had to choose one that I do, probably my under eye cream. I think it's a little overrated.
Yeah, I mean, you're addressing puffiness and dark circles. Like, outside of puffiness and dark circles, there's no need to use an eye cream. Just use your goddamn moisturizer around your fucking eyes. Oh, I was trying to avoid the F word. Now Apple's gonna punish me. No, I'm just kidding.
I love it.
But yeah, like, hello, just use everything else around your eyes.
Yeah. I feel like as long as I'm washing, I'm moisturizing, and I'm protecting, it's like those
Yeah.
are the 3 go-tos for sure.
You're good. I feel the same way about anti-aging products. Like, sunscreen is the anti-aging product you should be using, and then if you want to use retinol, you can use retinol, but that's pretty much it. Everything else in an anti-aging jar is nonsense.
Agree.
All right, a health, wellness or grooming habit you've completely changed your mind about.
Wellness. Man, I know it's lightning. I'm trying to think fast. I think the sauna thing for me, right, was always I would do it when I went to the gym or I would do it here and there. And now I'm going 2 times a week at least.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me is like, I don't know, a lot of people that I am friends with like to meditate, or they have some sort of a form of just being by yourself and reading or doing something. And when I go and I can sit for, I'm usually there for an hour, hour and a half, by the time I've done everything and got in and out of there and done my cycles or whatever. Honestly, it is a game changer. I love working out, but being able to go and sit and have that time by myself and just kind of reflect really changes the day for me.
Yeah. Cool. And lastly, what's one thing you wish marketers listening to this would take to heart when they're talking to men?
I think the thing for me is simplification. I've said it a few times, and I think you kind of hit me before with the sink in, and I think of what does the product actually feel like, and what is it doing for me? Because yes, it's a moisturizer, but is it going to be like super heavy and sweaty feeling and, really sitting on top of my skin? Or is it going to get down in there and really evaporate, right? Or disappear, right? Like those are the things that I kind of think about. But I mean, honestly, the big thing for me that I'm always kind of digging into is like, there's a difference between, I think, men being able to feel good about themselves and honestly, when you're feeling good about yourself, like as a man, right? It's like I think it puts me in a really good spot mentally, and I think right there's equal amounts of men that are feeling bad about themselves and showing how that actually ends up feeling on that negative side. So I think the more men that we can get feeling good about themselves and doing things to create more of like a positive energy and kind of lean more into feeling good because that I think ends up exuding from that. I think that's kind of the goal for me is, as marketers, let's get some stuff out there that really just simplifies the messaging and helps us understand these are going to make you feel good. You have to use it in the morning. Here's how you use it at night, and really just make it easier to digest overall.
Amazing. A perfect place to end. Thank you, Bob. This is incredible. I really, really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, appreciate you having me, and looking forward to spending some more time together and working on some stuff in the future. So
You
thanks for
got
having
it.
me.
I will drop I'll drop the links to your account on IG into the show notes, and I actually already prepared a couple links to some of the articles that you've written in Men's Health that I loved, so people can check those out as well.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, ciao.
See ya.
All right, thank you for listening to the Skincarma Pod. Find more insights, real talk, and reviews of my favorite skincare products on the Skincarma blog at skincarma.com. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please rate and review this episode. It helps me to reach more listeners. Ciao.